Camera speed. Audio speed. Speeding. Camera speeds. And 3, 2, 1. What's up, party people? It's your boy JB. They do that. That's what they do on a film set. I just thought it would be appropriate to start that way. I just wanted to take some time and talk about 2018 and talk about my goals for 2019. So let's begin. In 2018, things started off crazy. I got a red on the 17th day, flew down, was in Texas with my boys Lou and Matthew. Right after that, flew straight to X Games in Aspen. I flew out to X Games not knowing anyone other than I had a media pass with David Wise. Come to find out, he ends up winning, he ends up liking me, and we start working together. At the end of 2017, I had just come off my first full year of filmmaking full-time and as a freelancer and as a business owner. I remember in December, I just kind of felt uncontent with where I was at, and I got into filmmaking through action sports originally and kind of drifted away and kind of just to make money. And I knew that I wanted to get back to the roots of why I started. Ironically enough, it was the perfect timing for me and for David to bring me on board. Anyone that's trying to aspire to grow and to reach, whether it's professional athletes or celebrities or whatever, make sure that you're spending the time to work on who you are as a person, because if that opportunity to shoot at X Games would have happened anytime sooner, I would have blown it. I wouldn't have been prepared. I don't know what I would have done, but I know I wouldn't have been in the right headspace, in the right mind space to be able to create what I created and to be able to be who I was at the time of the event. So after X Games, David brings me on board. He goes to the Olympics. I edit all of his content through the whole month of February.
And the thing about this is David Wise had trouble. He had trouble on his first 2 runs. He went down on both of his first tricks on his first 2 runs. And so it comes down to this one right here. It's left up, 10, 1 more to go. Score coming in, 97.2.
He ends up winning the Olympics, and I fly out, meet him in Reno. They have this huge party. It's crazy. We end up watching The Greatest Showman, which is one of my favorite movies, and I got to watch it with them. How much of my story and their story was in that film was insane. We were all very emotional after that. It was a great time. It's a great time. Really great time. Originally, I was supposed to go film the Olympics with them, but because NBC owns all the rights, it was a no-go. I wouldn't have been able to film anything. I wouldn't have been able to have the access like I did at X Games. So they were like, well, how do you feel about filming Audi 9s? And I was like, sign me up. Yes, let's go. So that was supposed to be a week. And then they were like, well, hey, if you want to go for a week, actually you got to go for a month. And I was like, sign me up, let's go. Go to Europe, travel all of Europe with David, filming, skiing, snowboarding. It was sick. The whole time I was in Europe, I was actually snowboarding on a torn ACL, which is crazy. Back at X Games, the day after, I went and celebrated with some friends, just a huge accomplishment, and I hit this jump, and it was not built properly, and I ended up sending it 40, 50 to flat, and my knees just buckled out, and my knee gave right then and there. End up flying home that night, go to the doctor the next day. He clears me. He doesn't say that I tore my ACL, but we didn't take an MRI, so there's really no way to actually know what really happened. After I get home from Europe, I am filming the first of 4 weddings of the summer, and I'm running around a corner. We had kind of like a freak battery accident. I had to go grab one, and on my way back, I planted, and my knee just gave out. My leg folded in half, and I knew for sure it was the exact same pain that I felt before. I end up hobbling through the wedding. My second shooter, Mike, ends up taking over, crushes it, and now I'm stuck with a torn ACL with 3 weddings to go for the remainder of the summer. The next week I had to shoot one. I brought in an extra shooter, and I just directed the film and just crutched along. Ended up being one of my favorite films, but it was by far one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. Fast forward 6 more weeks, I was lined up to shoot my next wedding. I thought that I was gonna be good. I thought that, after 7 weeks, I should be walking. Unfortunately, there were some complications with surgery. My ACL was actually too tight. So yet again, I shoot this wedding on crutches, bring in 2 shooters, and I direct the film. It ended up being a piece of work that is honestly one of my favorite wedding pieces I've ever done. Fast forward another 6 weeks and I had another wedding film. At this point, it's my 10th day of walking and it's my first destination wedding that I've shot. So I was a little nervous. I get through it and I had a newfound love for shooting again because I finally could after what felt like 3 months of not being able to shoot. In the fall, I was a second shooter for a Dick's Sporting Goods short. I was also an AC for a Coca-Cola consolidated event. I AC'd, that means assistant camera. I AC'd a murder mystery TV show. I fly out to Reno, meet up with David Wise again, and Cam Zink and Luca Cometti, and we put down a backflip project.
One thing I've always lacked is the ability to do things halfway. If I'm gonna do something, I wanna do it well. If I'm gonna ride a mountain bike, I wanna be able to backflip it. Hey, drop!
And then I flew back home, shot 2 more weddings, and then unfortunately my grandfather passed away. So that kind of threw me for a loop, kind of having to process that. I've come to find out that I'm a type 7 on the Enneagram, and I have a hard time grieving. So I still feel like I'm going through that process even now. And I'm actually really excited. Not only am I making this video, but I'm also in the middle of making a 2018 reel, and my grandfather is gonna have kind of a big part of that film. And so I'm excited to share that with you guys soon. Not sure when that's gonna come out, but be looking forward to that. And then one of my 2 sisters got married. I was actually in the wedding and I also shot the wedding. I directed the whole thing, had 2 more shooters come in. Not only was I able to be a part of the wedding, I was able to gift my sister and now brother-in-law with a wedding film, which was really cool. Right after that, turned around, flew out to Breckenridge, Colorado, linked up with David Wise again, filmed at Dew Tour in the modified half pipe. That week was a huge week for me because that week was 7 months post ACL surgery and the first time I'd been back on snow. And there's a really cool video I came up with on my Instagram on IGTV if you want to go check that out. It was a crazy week at Dew Tour. David ends up podiuming 3rd place. It was a great time. I was super thankful for the experience and just really thankful for kind of getting some confidence back on snow and being able just to be able to snowboard again. I fly back home, heading into Christmas, thinking I was gonna have a couple days off, and my other sister was pregnant and her baby was born. So we flew down to Florida, we celebrated Christmas, I got to meet my nephew, and then flew back home and rang in the new year here. I watched Taylor Swift and got caught up on editing and still getting caught up on editing. So that leaves me with, I wanted to recap a little bit on some of my goals for 2018. By the end of 2018, I wanted to own a red, which actually ended up happening on the 17th day. I wanted to learn and practice better lighting because I grew up just kind of doing the run and gun thing and really just using natural light. I started noticing a need in my films for lighting when I showed my reel to a director of photography, and he was like, that looked great, but I can tell you didn't light any of those scenes. And I was like, you're kind of right. I started putting that into practice during wedding receptions and just lighting the dance floor with a couple lights. Speaking of lighting, I just wanted to talk about this little lighting breakdown right now. I have a 6-foot Quasar over here, kind of dimmed down, kind of putting in that soft light. I don't have any fill light coming in over here. I mean, there's a window with the blinds closed, so it might be kicking in a little bit, but not a whole lot. And then I have a light back there kind of putting in a rim light, and you can kind of see it kissing off of the side of my head. But kind of having that, you know, in film, you normally want to have one side of the face a little bit more lit than the other, and most people end up shooting off of the darker side. It just looks more contrasty, it's a little bit more moody, and it looks really good. One of my other goals was to invest in storytelling and education. I did an okay job at this. I really only paid for masterclass, and then I probably spent just a ton of time kind of investing in myself, watching YouTube tutorials or having phone calls with friends or other editors or VFX artists and kind of just learning and picking their brain. But really the only thing I paid for was masterclass, and really I've only kind of just cut the surface on masterclass. There's so much great content from really well-known directors, artists, you name it, that we can learn a lot from, and unfortunately I just haven't had the time and motivation really to sit down and learn. One of my big ambitious goals was to run 1,000 miles. I ended up running 256.6 miles. I actually grew up running. I ran cross country in high school. When I was in college, I kind of stopped running. I just didn't really have the time. I was working, I was in school, I was snowboarding. I didn't really have time to run. I didn't make time for running. And I remember at the end of when I was approaching graduation, I started getting back into it. And now running is a really critical part of my overall health and in my business, because when I go and run, it's just me and myself. It's me and my mind. It's me and my brain. And I'm trying to beat my old time. I'm looking at the routes. I'm trying to see how I can push bigger and faster here, focusing on breathing and focusing on form. And really, it's just been a huge mental escape, because really editing is it's a mental focus thing. And so being able to not only physically exercise, but kind of exercise your mind and being able to be mentally focused. So when you jump into the editing suite, you're just ready to go. It's really freed me up. It's really gotten me past all of my bad ideas and gotten me through to my good ideas. One of my other goals was to drink more coffee. Currently drinking coffee. I'm always drinking coffee. It is literally my lifeline. I love coffee. Cheers. In 2018, I wanted to work with more studios, brands, people, and honestly just collaborate more. I counted all the numbers, and in 2018, I collaborated with over 55 clients, brands, studios, you name it, and I'm pretty proud of that. I didn't realize how much work I was really putting in with all the projects and just events and traveling I was doing, and with 55 plus, it ended up breaking down for basically one client per week. In 2018, I wanted to take a step closer to van life. Van life was kind of inspired to me in 2016 when I watched a documentary called Minimalism. The big takeaway I got from that film was just that less is more. I travel a lot, and so a van really makes sense for me, but running a business doesn't make sense in living in a van. And so I think I've graduated from the idea of living in the van. I think I would want a van just more to travel in. So that's kind of why I wanted to take a step closer into van life, is because I'm still figuring out the idea, and also I'm still figuring out the financial side of it. Yeah, it's a really neat idea that intrigues me, and I could see myself wanting and needing a van for the rest of my life. And so I want to make sure that I do it the right way.